Hi, guys. Welcome back to another enlightening video here with your spiritualists and witches, Raina Tees. Today, I wanted to talk to you guys about soul loss, soul fragments, and possibly soul retrieval. Okay, so what is soul loss? Soul loss happens when you experience the most traumatic episodes in your life, and in some part of the way in you experiencing this episode, your soul receives a bit of a scar, a tear, or even breaks away as a fragment itself. And that part of your soul, that piece of you, is constantly experiencing that episode over and over and over. Okay? So when we are born, when we are between the ages of infancy until about our predisposed sex characteristics drop, okay, hormones and adolescence and all that shit, right? And even after that, like, this is not limited to, but usually in that early time of childhood, infancy, and early adolescence, and is when we are the most vulnerable, and when we are the most impressionable, and when we are the most susceptible. Okay, so during that time, we're like a sponge. When we're that young, we're like a sponge, and we're soaking up experiences. We're soaking up personality traits and behavioral traits. We're soaking up our environment. We're soaking up everything. What's on TV, everything. So in that time, everything that we experience is that much more heightened, especially speaking on the bad and or traumatic experiences. Okay? So when we're at that age and we're in that place of vulnerability when it comes to those traumatic experiences, we are more inclined to experience what is called soul loss, a complete soul shattering and fragmentalizing of that aspect of ourselves. And because we are in such a vulnerable state of existing and being, that part of ourselves that is fragmentalized and sectioned away from us or cut away from us to continuously experience that episode is vulnerable, is helpless, feels powerless, is in a state of confusion and again, helplessness, right? So that's going into a bit of what experiencing soul loss is. So if you can think back to a time in your youth when you experience the most traumatic, for example, you ever have a reoccurring dream or a reoccurring theme in a dream that you know is personal to you when you were young, growing up? It could be dealing with anything, an abusive family member, an abusive friend, anything. It could be dealing with, a loss, losing a relative, losing, a dog. It could be anything, but it impacts you in such a way where it made a permanent stain and altered and also changed your personality, for lack of better words, in going forward in your development and your evolution. Okay? So a lot of times, yeah, they are the more extreme situations, like growing up, the relatives that you had, the parents that you had, the school that you went to, the teachers, how your peers treated you, what you were picked on for, what you lacked, what you feel that you were inadequate in or did not have. That's where a lot of those early soul fragments begin. And on the most extreme cases, we're talking about dealing with rape, molestation, abuse, neglect, abandonment. And those things carry with us. Those things carry with us when we get older. Okay? And those soul fragments that have been compartmentalized away from us, they're still experiencing that in that childlike helplessness, innocent states. And it's a lot of times to explain why when you have those dreams, okay, where you go back and you relive that moment, or you relive that episode, or you relive experiencing that person, that emotion, that negative feeling, whatever it is, you oftentimes in the dream see yourself as a child. Or you are a child. You're reliving that memory or that dream impression as a child. Hold on, bitch, because I'm drinking, honey. Gotta get into the spirit, honey. Okay? But yeah, it's why a lot of times when you go back to that place, you are experiencing it from the most vulnerable time in your existence, which is oftentimes childhood. Okay, so now that we've explained a little bit of what soul loss is and soul fragmentalizing is, let's talk about how it affects us when we get older. Okay, so you ever hear people, you talk to them, and you're talking to them about relationships, and they're like, well, I don't really know how to love because I was never shown love when I was young, or I don't really trust people because when I was young, this happened to me, or when I did this happened to me. What they are referring to in those, a lot of those cases are experiencing soul loss. Okay? Now, as we get older, of course, we suppress those experiences. We tend to outgrow them. We tend to feel like, okay, well, that happened that long ago. I'm older now. I understand it now, or I've outgrown it, so it doesn't hurt me as much. But lo and behold, okay, that little essence of ourselves, that little childhood version of ourselves calls out to us from the depths of our subconscious and reminds us that we're still hurting, that it is still hurting, and that it is still trying to find its way back to us and become unified with us and whole with us. But because I think so much of the times, so many times, and so much of our upbringing and so much of this culture in and of itself is constantly teaching us to suppress those negative emotions. Oh, it's supposed to be sunshines and sprinkles all the time. If you're not completely happy and in love with yourself in your life 24/7, then something's wrong with you. So we are constantly taught and bombarded to turn the other cheek to our own inner problems, our own innermost demons. And so what happens? These soul fragments, these soul shards, the soul lost in and of itself, it never can find its way completely back to its owner and be whole and be unified and be healed, completely healed from that episode. And we are talking about healing through forgiveness of the transgressors. We're talking about forgiveness within ourselves for it happening to us. Okay, a lot of times people dealing with issues like rape and abuse, they can feel like it was themselves that brought it onto them, you know. Forgiveness, it also comes with understanding, accepting that this happened. Okay, it happened, but it does not define you. It does not dictate the rest of your life. Okay, and also meditation. But we'll talk about the healing part later. We'll get into that later. I wanted to talk about how it affects us later on in life, right? So that's where we are. Hold on, bitch, because I'm sipping. So how it affects us later on in life. And I spoke on hearing people say, "Oh, well, this is, I don't trust people nowadays because this and this and that," or I don't do this now because this and this and that. The most extreme cases of narcissism and narcissistic personality disorder. Okay, and I'm not speaking from a medical term. I'm speaking from a holistic term. Okay, so there is medical and science and obviously chemicals and everything like that, girl, going on, and components going on. But there's also a spiritual and psychological understanding to it as well. And a lot of times in extreme narcissistic personality types, it is because they were so vulnerable when they experienced that level of their soul loss, that they either promised themselves that they would never experience it again and would work actively and consciously and through whatever means, malicious or otherwise, to make sure they never ran into it again. Or I think that's pretty much the case. Yeah, that's pretty much the case. And I'm going to explain a little bit. So, yes, honey, we go back and we visit X from the past. Okay, so if you guys have been with Raina Tees for a while, I have done videos on, intrinsic work that I did on a specific X and this X or whatever. So we're going to talk about this person. So early on in, being, I guess, open with each other in that relationship of that stage, he said something to me. He told me about how when he came to America, a huge part of him changed, okay? And what he was explaining to me was a soul loss experience. So he's foreign, okay? I don't know if I said this in the other video, child, but whatever. He's foreign, okay? He is not from this country. And when he came here, excuse me, when he came here, okay, he met someone and he fell in love. Okay, he fell in love with this person. And this person, obviously being a U.S. citizen and kind of having the advantage of citizenship, and him himself not really being a legal citizen, it always put him in a disadvantage when it came to them two. You know what I'm saying? If you get what I'm saying, like issues or any issue that they have or any arguments, her threat to him was, I'm gonna call, motherfucking bitch, I'm gonna call immigrant services, I'm gonna call them on your ass, I'm gonna put you out. Him coming to the country literally with nothing to try to start a life. And this person was like, I'm gonna put you out, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, if you don't this and this and that. And so he said to me, after experiencing that, he told himself, and eventually the girl did put him out. Like, she put him out, and he was homeless for a while, and that was a soul loss. Him experiencing that, him coming to this country, finding this person, being in a relationship with this person, possibly caring a great deal for this person, and then the person basically abandoning him. Okay, abandonment, neglect, abuse, manipulation, whatever. Those are what triggers soul loss. So he kind of said to me, he was like, after that, I told myself, like, I was going to never have a bitch have me in a position to, have something over my head. I was going to always have my own shit, And while great, you want to aspire for self-sufficiency, you want to, have your own shit, that's a great notion to live by and want to honor within yourself and for yourself. At the same time, when you approach it from a level of, I ain't never gonna trust no bitch, that's you losing that piece of yourself, that compartment of yourself that has the ability to earn and gain and appreciate and evolve within levels of trust with another person. Because it doesn't matter with a narcissistic personality type. It doesn't matter how it's actually the opposite. The more trustworthy you are to those type of individuals, the more they seek to take advantage of you. You know, and how fucking ironic is that? Like, I'm proving my loyalty to you, and then you turn around and you use that against me to manipulate me or get things out of me or whatever. So that soul loss of his, that huge chunk of him that he lost in that episode of coming to this country and having, you know, the person that he relied upon to keep him safe and whatever, you know, you want to call it. She basically was like, well, bitch, you know, if you don't act my way, I'm going to call immigration on your ass and have you deported. On top of, you came here literally with nothing, and I'm putting you out on the streets for him to literally have to sleep in a park. He told me he had to sleep in a park. So that's traumatic. And it affected him so greatly that he doesn't have the capacity to trust another person to place his well-being in their hands. You know? So it evolves and manifests in a lot of times insidious ways. And it's not me here trying to make up excuses for his personality or narcissistic personalities. No, but I'm saying on a deeper level, the soul loss that they experience can mitigate their growing behavior and why they interact with people the way that they do, or interact with the world the way that they do. So I think that's talking about, you know, how it evolves and manifests itself in our life, experiencing that soul loss, jadedness, cynicism, you know, not trusting, not believing, not having faith, having apathy, things like that. And yet all the while, and still that childhood version of ourselves is calling out to us, asking to be whole, asking to be healed and accepted and forgiven. And we'd rather, you know, shake it off, shrug it off, say, oh, that shit happened to me, you know, fuck them, fuck that shit, you know, being angry, being hateful, being spiteful, being resentful, and not loving that experience, because in and of itself, it did shape us. It did change us. It did mold us into being the person that we can potentially grow into being, which is of, you know, strength, even through our weaknesses, even through our faults, even through our failures, even through our vulnerability, honey, because it's hard for people to want to admit to one another, let alone themselves, that they are vulnerable. Huge, you know, petro-masculine energy that's rampant. Huge. It's an overcompensation of that. Okay, you got a lot of these girls out here now talking about how now they're a savage. They savage now, you know, learning from basically prostitutes like Cardi B and, you know, a lot of these other industry entertainment figures as women who they're just as eager out there to take advantage of men or whoever as men are eager to take advantage of them. So it's honestly a vicious cycle. It's a vicious cycle of both parties playing each other. And, you know, when a girl comes and she acknowledges that she's savage now and she's just a savage, and I mean basically that's her, you know, just like with the guy, you know, same thing with the guy, that's her admitting that she's accepted, you know, narcissistic personality traits or behavior or personality, let alone that she is disregarding and not accepting and soothing and healing that soul fragment and soul loss that she experienced. Okay, so I've rambled enough about that, how it affects us. Now I guess I want to talk a little bit about bringing that soul home, bringing that shard and that fragment home, and the benefits of that. Okay, the benefits of that. a lot of the blockages, a lot of the setbacks, a lot of the limitations that we think we are experiencing, sometimes we place upon ourselves. It's because of those soul losses, okay? Those soul fragments. And us, whether we believe it, whether we see it, whether we acknowledge it, they are constantly and continuously manifesting that gap in our life and that emptiness, that unfulfilled separation in our life, that we chase after other things to try to, fulfill and have. Okay, if your constant pursuit is of material acquisitions, money, cars, attention, clothes, things like that, then a lot of times it can be traced back to the soul loss of you feeling like you weren't adequate enough when you were younger, or people made fun of you when you were younger because you didn't have anything. Okay? When you are constantly in pursuit of playing people, playing with hearts, playing with, girls, guys, playing them, taking from them, abusing them, using them, that is a reflection on you not having or receiving enough love in your life when you were younger, or possibly experiencing heartbreak early on when you were at your most vulnerable, your most giving, your most, accepting, whatever you want to call it. Okay? So think of what we get back when we reunify with that childhood hurt version of ourselves. We don't feel the need to chase after certain things and certain and when I say aspiration, sure, great, aspire, bitch, get it. Let's get it, girl. Okay, money makes the fucking world move, and bitch, ain't no bitch gonna turn down nice things. That's not what I'm saying. But there is a separation when you want to honestly treat yourself for yourself, and when you're out here trying to buy things or get things or do things to make up for something that you feel that you lack. And there's a great liberation that comes from reunifying yourself with that part of yourself, that piece that was broken off, and that it no longer becomes important. You no longer feel the shame, the guilt, the burden, the emptiness, because you've forgiven yourself. Okay, girl, you didn't have it when you were growing up, or he broke your heart, they broke your heart, but bitch, look at the opportunity and the possibilities you have before you now to love again, to be with someone who truly appreciates you, to aspire to create and have fulfillment in your own life. Motherfuckers ain't talking about shit like this. Okay? Yeah, it's cute, girl, bitch. You get your, buying the motherfucker, have them obsessed over you, lusting over you, wanting to call you back, chase you down. Yeah, girl, it's cute. It's cute, but the magic is only temporary. Magic is only a temporary patch in most cases. Yes, she can be prolonged and she can create lasting bridges of things, but it's not a fix-all. It's not, it's like a little droplet in the ocean that is possibly your issues that you have to face at some point. Okay? So yeah, bitch, Miss Raina Tees, honey. Miss Raina Tees, she does offer readings. Raina Tees is offering spell work as well. But we're not doing petty ass spell work. Okay? We over here about moving the people. Moving is more than just about taking it on and doing the shit. It's if the other girls out there are doing that, that's cool, but we need to see some movement. And that's why a lot of what we try to promote here is on core cutting rituals, is on self-sufficient and role opener spells for love, for money, for prosperity, whatever you're looking for. instead of trying to focus on one specific being, one specific person, one specific situation. Because a lot of times when you come like that, not all the time, because yes, a lot of times I get where you're coming from, bitch. You done put time, effort, energy, and money into this fool, and all they've given you is heartbreak and heartache, and you feel like you just want their ass to suffer, and you want to be with them. You know, they're suffering and going through hell, and you want to be right there. I get it. I was there. But also, the real question at the end of the day is, what does that say about you? What is that saying about you? For real. It ain't no judgment, bitch. It's real tea. It's real tea. And that's how we talk over here. Real fucking tea. Raina teas. Okay? What does that say? And a lot of people ain't ready. They're not ready to see that. They're not ready to get that. They're not ready to focus on that. They want the quick fix. They want the instant validation and all type of other shit. And that's fire, bitch. Get your life, girl. But in the long term, it's only a droplet to the sea that is your soul, that is your subconscious, that is your essence. So the healing has to start from within first before you can even recognize or acknowledge or appreciate what it is that you truly deserve and what you truly want out of this life. So, yeah. Spell work and consultations we also do provide. If you want more insight and answers on how to re-merge with your broken, fragmented self, that part of you, that childhood vulnerable part of you that was broken away and that is still hurting, suffering, that's still feeling shame, guilt, isolation, and being alone and loneliness, write us on Raina Teas at Raina Teas at Yahoo. No, not Yahoo, bitch. What am I talking about? Raina Teas at gmail.com. Okay, we can set up a consultation to give you the real tea, honey, on how to get this shit back. Get your shit back. And with that, thank you guys so much for tuning into this video. I'll catch you in the next one.